of a waning time and culture, so they produced a national monument to conserve it. The binaries at play then and today are past, present, tradition, modernity, alive versus dead or dying. The U.S. Park Service pamphlets from the Pipestone, Minnesota quarry represent pipes as artifacts, as craft objects, and they detail the geology and the history of white incursion into the quarry in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. They also talk about the regulatory response of the U.S. federal government. Now, these material and regulatory histories are not unimportant, but like the production of indigenous biological samples abstracted from living bodies and vibrant peoples, Western politics and knowledge surrounding the quarry in effect maintain a knowledge binary between the material and the immaterial. Yet in liberal multiculturalist tradition, the Park Service also acknowledges indigenous spiritual beliefs and practices related to pipestone. Now, indigenous people at the quarries resist binary narratives in part. While Dakota quarriers and carvers reject narratives of dead and vanished Indians, past versus present, the sacred and related to this, the traditional, are key concepts for some of those quarriers and for many of our people. Now, the stone is also sometimes, as I said, spoken of as a relative, and the quarries are at the center of quarrier lives. Regardless of whether the quarries are referred to as sacred or not all of the quarriers are comfortable using the concept of the sacred, although I would say most are. So the point is that this idea of the sacred I view as sort of this big fish in the rushing waters surrounding the Pipestone quarry discourse. So it's not only science that relies upon a material-immaterial binary, but it is the discourse of the sacred as taken up by indigenous peoples ourselves, I think, that helps further such thinking. The Park Service and some concerned Native American tribes are currently struggling ethically with the commercial sale of pipestone objects from the quarries, and on this slide you can see some of them. They sell, in addition to pipes, they sell necklaces, smudge bowls made out of pipestone, keychains, earrings, even incense burners, and then tourists come into the gift shop. It's largely tourists, and they'll buy things made of pipestone. So the Park Service and the 23 affiliated tribes are debating this right now. Maybe we can get to more of this in the Q&A. So my point is, though, that talking about the stone as sacred, we can only think about it as sacred if we simultaneously embrace the idea of the profane. So this stance, and this is one of the things I'm going to try to work out in this ethnography, is potentially at odds with a view of relationality that exists in our tribal languages and which points to indigenous peoples and the stone existing in these more complex and intimate relations, including historically the trade of stone, because we know historically our ancestors did trade. Now we're in a cash economy, but some of the quarriers argue that that's a contemporary form of trade. This relatively modern notion of the sacred, as we use it in English, is not really able to accommodate this practice, and we're having some serious debates about this right now at Pipestone. Okay. So this is the fun part. Has anybody seen this film? The others? Somebody's seen